What do you guys have to do just to maintain that same level of relentlessness you've had all season?
Well, it's a great challenge with this Utah offense. Scoring 40 points a game, conference champions. And it's going to start with, really, they do a great job of just questioning your toughness down after down. The way they pound the football. And one thing you always worry about in bowl games, you haven't played in a month. You kind of got to restart, you got to reestablish your toughness. Tackling is always crucial in bowl games, so I think those will all be the big things. We have to. You mentioned the word relentless. We have to run to the football. We have to tackle all the things that every defense coordinator is going to say. But when you haven't played in a month, I think they take on an even bigger emphasis.
I mean, regardless of the results of the different blitz schemes you guys have, how do you make sure your defense stays confident all season? The fact that regardless of the results of what happens on your blitz, how do you make sure they're still confident and rested?
Whether we blitz, you said it? Or?
I said, how do you, regardless of, obviously you blitz and obviously want to get the sack, but regardless of that, you guys seem like you've been confident all season. So regardless of the results of when you actually blitz, how do you make sure your team stays confident?
Yeah, because I don't think the blitz doesn't really matter in terms of our confidence. I think what matters is, look, you have a hole and you have parts, right? And what you do every week as a coach is you pull apart the hole and you get the parts individually better. And when every player gets better through the course of the season, the unit gets better. And we played well in September, but we were better in October, and we were much, much better in November. And I think the reason why is because when you watch the film, you don't get really caught up as much in the results. You just get caught up in the performance. And I think the more we've been able to just critique our performances, the things that we like, the things that we don't like, and to our players' credit, they've continued to work to be the best version of themselves. And I think they would say that we still probably have our best performance out there. I don't think we played as good as we played on defense by a long shot.
And how far has Abdul Carter come during the course of the season? Obviously, he came into the program tremendously physically gifted, but where has he gotten better as a season?
I think with Abdul, it's his preparation and understanding his role within the defense. Early in the season, he flashed, and then the next week you could kind of see that maybe he tried to do things his own way, and then the next game he kind of locked in, flashed again, and then I think it took him one more game to really understand, okay, I just need to do my job, and if I do my job, then as you mentioned, his physical attributes will be accentuated. And that's really what, to me, helped him in the final 6 weeks of the season. I think that helped us as a defense in the final 6 weeks of the season is that, guys sometimes believe they have to put on a cape and do something special. And with his skill set, if he just does his job, he will be noticed on the field.
And then constructive criticism at practice yesterday. You got on him a couple times. Some players may not be open to that. I mean, especially young players who are really good. How has he responded to tough coaching at times?
Well, Abdul wants to be great, and I've told him my job is to help him achieve greatness. And what happens is when you have success for a freshman, and I kind of almost put that in his face, like you played well for a freshman. And do you want to? Is that it? Is this as good as it gets, or is there more? And I think he's got high goals, high aspirations, and generally speaking, high achievers. They don't want to be BS'd, right? They want to be told if it's good, it's good. If it's not good, it's not good. And truth be told, that's really the way that we coach all of our guys. If we like it, we're going to say, we like it. If we don't like it, we're going to tell them we don't like it, and that's how we coach our guys.
Manny, what do you see from Cam Rising?
When your quarterback is tough, your entire offense is tough. Because just by the nature of the game, the guy touches the ball in every play, and everybody on the sideline is watching your quarterback. And so when he can demonstrate that he's tough, everybody's level of toughness picks up. And so you see a guy who everyone in the team, football is not very complicated from the time that we were playing Little League, right? The players want to believe, right? They want to believe they can win, and they believe that they will win. They can believe in the guy that touches that ball every play. Then they think that they've got a better chance if I'm the left guard, if I'm the tight end, if I'm the X receiver, whatever. And what you can see what Utah has is Utah has belief. They believe in their leader. Why wouldn't they? Because of the way that he plays the game. when they need a play, whether it's a 2-point conversion in the first matchup against Southern Cal, they're going to call his number, and he's demonstrated, with pretty routine effectiveness that he's going to deliver when it's called.
When you prepped for Utah and you watched their tape, is there any comps to a team you've played this year, any team in the Big Ten?
There is to many teams we've played in the Big Ten, because I think stylistically, they want to huddle, they want to run the football. Their throwing game comes off of running the football, and they want to protect their defense, and that's the thing you see. You see that a program. I think Coach Whittingham and what he's been able to establish and the stability they've been able to have at Utah. And to understand that they have an elite defense and they're comfortable playing low-scoring games. They're comfortable of not putting their defense in bad situations. They don't allow negative plays on offense. They don't get sacked on offense. They do a good job of taking the ball on offense. All things that would put your defense in a bad position. So yeah, there's certainly a mixture of teams that we've played in our league. You could argue they may have more of a Big Ten style than what you see traditionally out west. And you can also argue that might be why they're so successful. Because it feels to me from the outside that the tougher team normally wins this league. You can say that about most of these, but it feels like in the Pac-12, when SC had it rolling there for a while, when Stanford had it rolling there for a while, and certainly Utah the last 2 years has been the toughest team in this league, and it's no surprise that that's gotten into back-to-back Rose Bowls.
What's it like, Stevie, for a team that uses the tight end as much as they do the passing game?
Yeah, well, you've got to be disciplined. Because what happens is that the tight ends do a great job of run blocking, and if he tries in the wrong place, all of a sudden you leave those guys wide open, which you see in a lot of plays. I mean, when you look at the yards, there's one thing to have tight ends catch the ball, but when you look at the yards per completion, those are wide receiver yards per completion. Tight ends should have 25 yards per catch. It doesn't make any sense. So it shows that they're talented. They can do things after, but it also shows that. We always say you have to keep your eyes on your luggage. If you don't keep your eyes on your luggage, these guys all of a sudden are wide open. So we're blessed. We feel like we've got 3 great tight ends we see every day in practice. So we do get a little bit of prep for that. But what you can't simulate is the motioning and the shifting, and that's really what they do a good job of schematically. Everyone that's played him has known you got to stop the tight ends. It wasn't like, we just take a month of preparation for aha. The key is the tight ends and the passing offense. And yet, no one's been able to do it. So it's a credit to how they do it schematically, and a credit to what type of players these guys are.
What changes prepping on this team without their top tight end and their top running back?
Well, the back they've played without, but the tight end, and I don't know who decides on these tight end awards, and I've watched everybody, but that guy's as good as any tight end in the country. I mean, he was really, really special. We felt like we have a corner that's as good as anybody in the country. We felt like our corner is really, really special. So this is part of bowl games. You got to play with the guys that are there. But I think what you've seen is in the development of how they've been able to rotate many tight ends throughout the course of the season and rely on different types of targets. It's still going to be a major task for us to stop that part of their passing offense.
What's the biggest improvement Johnny's made over the course of the year?
Johnny Dixon? I think it's just in his confidence. I think the key when you go from being a spot guy to really we consider him a post-starter all year, and obviously didn't start most of November. Look, we're going to challenge. We're going to play man coverage. They're going to catch a ball, right? And can you line up with that same level of confidence the next play? And I think that started, we saw it back in spring. We saw it at their training camps. I think that had been, before I got here, maybe the story on Johnny, up and down. And everybody says that you got to have a short memory when you play corner, and I think his confidence has grown as he's had more success through the year. But it's not just your confidence doesn't come from success. Your confidence also comes from how do you handle failure, right? And I'm really proud of the strides that Johnny's made, and that's been a big part of the reason why I've been able to play pass defense. Even when we had Joey, I don't know if we could have done what we have been able to do without having Johnny's development.
You mentioned Joey there. Obviously, you only got to spend one season with him, but can you kind of take us through his decision to declare an opt-out, and then also just the impact that he had in the relationship he had in that 1 year?
Yeah, I mean, Joey, obviously, I think it's fairly obvious that we play more man coverage now. But part of that was when I was watching us in the spring, and you see guys like Joey, you see Kalen King, who really known this time last year, we knew a lot about. And I said, we're going to be able to lock some people down. And when you have a guy like Joey, and who's got great length, great speed, and then change of direction that's uncanny for a guy his height, those guys want to cover up wide receivers. They want to challenge every round, and so I think what I'm proud of Joey and the entire corner room. Terry Smith did a phenomenal job getting those guys to play at an elite level this year. Is they wanted it. It didn't matter who we played. They wanted to be there toe-to-toe with any wide receiver we played against and make everything difficult and allow their skill set really to come through. So Joey, I think, set the tone that first game against Purdue. And that was the season's going to go on a different way. I mean, that was really a tight one there in the fourth quarter. And I still think back to those 5 stops we made in a row in the fourth quarter. That really kick-started us and kind of got the whole season going. And Joey was a huge part. We don't win that game without Joey Porter. If we don't win that game, we're certainly not here talking to you and I in Los Angeles right now. So. Yeah, you could use that word. It's I mean, it's fun. Let's call it like it is. I love being a head coach, but I absolutely love coordinating defenses. And I've said this before, but coaching a room, to be able to work with Abdul Carter and teach him from that guy showed up on August 1st and didn't know anything to now watching him play. I mean, that to me is what coaching is at its essence. It's no different when you're a head coach. But when you're a head coach, you got 120. When you're a corner, you got half of them. But when you're a position coach, you have 12 to 15 of them. And just watching them go from here to there. And again, what's been rewarding for me this year is that when I think of our defense in the Purdue game to where we were in the Michigan State game, we're a completely different animal. We're a different animal from where we were in the Michigan game. We were different than the Minnesota game. And really, week by week, I felt like we really got better and better. And the reason why is because Tyler Elsdon got better, Kobe King got better, Curtis Jacobs got better. When you see the guys making individual improvements, that is as a coach, that's the part that's rewarding. Because you see their confidence grow, you see them be able to play faster, you see them make better plays, and that's been the fun part of the journey this year.